Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Got a good friend of our show in Rob McEwen on today to talk about some excellent results that they had from drilling on their stock property. Rob, thank you very much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure, Allan. Thank you.
You know, in the last year or so, Rob, in our interviews, we've been talking a lot about your copper stuff. And I think I was starting to think that maybe the gold stuff is not being appreciated. And then you came out with some great results yesterday. 21 grams of gold over 5 meters, 38 grams of gold over 7.4, 98.6 grams over close to a meter there. This is the kind of stuff that generated me wanting to do an interview with you, Rob.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that.
One of the things that really stood out to me, Rob, is that there's ramifications from these results that are good for your mining team and your exploration team. Can you delve into that a little bit for us?
Yes, this is all taking place in what we call our Fox property. It's located up near Timmins, Ontario, Canada, in a very prolific gold district, probably one of the most productive areas in Canada for gold. Well, we have spent a lot of money on exploration. There was an old, a former mine called the Stock Mine, which we own, and attached to it is the mill where we process all of the material from the Fox mine and Froome deposit at this mill. This mine went down to about 330 meters and then stopped. But 600 meters below, I remember when we bought it, I went, there's some good grade down here. There was some 55-gram material sitting down 600 meters below, but there was no development getting down there. We started drilling. We first went to the east and found a low grade area, a gram or two, but there were some high grade chutes in there, quite high grade. But we said, well, there's too much low grade at the moment. And then we started drilling to the west of the old mine, and we found what we call Stock West. So we developed a plan a few years ago to develop Stock West as our next deposit to go after we finish Froome at Fox. I'm going to throw too many names at you. But,
okay.
But the nice thing about it, it's right next to the mill. And we said, well, we're going to put a ramp down. So in this first part of the press release, we're talking about, well, where we've designed the ramp, we started drilling around the portal where the ramp would enter the underground. And to our surprise, we started picking up good grades. And that first result you mentioned, the 21 grams over 5 meters, is all those results are coming within 23 and 72 meters of surface. And we can access it very early on in the development of the ramp. And we're seeing here, well, this could help pay for the ramp, a portion of the ramp. It's early cash flow. So it reduces the drain on the treasury, but it was quite a pleasant surprise. And then as we go down on the ramp, the press release had 2 other, what they call vectors, but they emanate out of the same spot up near the top where we're getting these good grades. So there's a shallow one cutting into where we've defined an area at Stock West. And then there's another plunge, which is really an extension of the existing mine workings, only much deeper. So what we call the steeper plunge is longer term, and the shallower plunge goes right into Stock West, which will be our next area of production in a couple of years. The ramp we're starting late in December, and it'll continue for about a year, going down to where we have Stock West. And so we've been finding gold. Stock West seems to be extending to the southwest, and it's these results are suggesting as we're going down, there's more gold to be possibly mined to offset the cost further.
Some low-cost, high-grade gold that has some healthy margins to pay for some of the development work.
Yes, yes. So
So-
that's what we're doing. And then there was a curious, or I'll call intriguing result. There's an area called the Temiskaming sediments, and it sits on one side of our ore body. And it's always thought to have been an area without any mineralization. And that is where we encountered that 98 grams, almost 99 grams over just under a meter. What I find very intriguing about that is we've defined this zone, but our geologists never assayed the portion of the core that went into the sediments. I'm not sure why they did it this time. I think maybe they saw some VG with a grade like that. And now that inventory of core that wasn't considered prospective is all being assayed. So I got my fingers crossed, and maybe we'll get some surprises there. Because
Well,
it is a host rock in the Timmins camp for some good grade gold.
well, and when you get 98 grams there and probably some signs of why the guys wanted to have that assay, that's a pretty exciting, intriguing is what the word you used in the news release. Very intriguing to me,
Yeah.
you know, because that's wide open and it's sitting right beside your underground workings are here, and that zone is right beside them. So I imagine it wouldn't be too difficult to get over to that material.
No, we'll just drive across and be in it.
Right?
Pluck out those nice juicy grades and
Make
keep extending the life of the mine and shortening the payback on this development project.
So the other, a couple other things that I wanted to talk to you about, Rob, today was you were recently at the Beaver Creek conference, I think it was, and you did a keynote with Frank Juster, I believe.
That's correct.
And I watched that. I watch all your stuff, by the way, Rob. Something that stood out to me during that conversation was you made a comment that, you know, you go into these areas that are well known, and you would think they'd been explored to the nth degree, and yet companies come out with results out of left field in camps where, you know, it's very well known. You used Great Bear as an example, and you know, that kind of stood out to me because it gives you the idea to keep looking, even if you think you've got it all figured out.
So true. I mean, there's the expression, you know, look in the shadow of the head frame. Basically, look where they've already found gold. And I was thinking of the Red Lake district where Great Bear is, but that's also where we built Gold Corp's powerhouse. And when I went up there, the Red Lake mine was a high cost mine, history of difficult labor relations, and it looked like it'd been exhausted. And I said, well, let's put some money into exploration. My CFO and I looked at it and we said, well, here's $10 million, go explore. And less than 6 months later, our geologist came back and said, well, we've just had some interesting results, 9 drill holes averaging 9 ounces per ton over an average width of 8 feet. And went, is there more? And we just hit it hard with more exploration dollars. So we had a very large land holding at Gold Corp in the Red Lake district, about 55,000 acres. And we were exploring around, but, you know, everybody was looking throughout the camp if there was more. And I was quite surprised many years later after I'd left Gold Corp when Great Bear walked into our office and they started describing what they're finding. And I'm going, wait a minute, this is less than 15 miles away from our big discovery, big deposit at Gold Corp, the Red Lake mine. I said, and I've asked a couple of the geologists I worked with, and I said, why? How come we didn't see that at the time? And Noranda had been in there on that property, and a couple of other mining companies had been in there, looked at it, passed it over. But then you have Great Bear comes along and gets bought out for more than $1 billion by Kinross, finding a large deposit there. And I mean, there are all sorts of examples of that. You can think of Ivanhoe going in Voisey's Bay, you know.
Looking for Diamond Field Resources. Looking
Yes,
for diamonds, and they found the VMS.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that area had been explored by all the base metal, some of the major base metal companies. And two geologists flying home look and see a colored hillside, and they go, "That's curious. Wonder what caused it to be that color." Drop down, and you found a very high grade nickel deposit. But there are all sorts of stories like that.
Yeah, that's why I always keep aware of the looking in these old mining camps, especially if they haven't seen a lot of modern exploration. In the case of Great Bear, I kind of have some inside baseball on that because my good friend Bob Singh
Yes.
worked together for about a decade. And I actually did some consulting for Great Bear, and I brought Bob into the story.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
And Bob is one of the smartest exploration geologists I know. And what really makes him especially talented is his ability to use the software out there to model things. And I think that's the key work that went into making that big Great Bear discovery. So, you know, having new eyeballs on old projects or in well-known camps, it's been a recipe for success in the past, and it was a recipe for success with you. And you know, having this conversation, what really intrigues me is that this is sounding somewhat like Corp. You had this mine that was, you know, bumbling along, if you will, and then you did some exploration work, and it sort of blew the top off the company. So not only do these results that you just had excite me for the underground workings and mining, but you've got that sex appeal on the exploration side that maybe the Truth Machine can drill into some more good stuff for you and really make this something special.
Well, that's always the wish of every explorationist.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a world of optimists, and
Have to be.
you have to be. And Mother Nature can be very kind sometimes. When you see high grades sitting around, you wonder, where's the source, and are you getting closer to where there's more of it?
And to find it in rock packages that your geologists really didn't expect to see gold in, that's quite exciting as well, especially with those kind of grades.
As you said, with Bob's different interpretation, that's where some of the breakthroughs come. So, yes.
And it always helps when the Truth Machine is what making that new look become something special, is when the Truth Machine starts agreeing with the new theory.
We just need to find drills that penetrate faster, that assay departments that turn around values quicker, and maybe something downhole. Maybe there's some technology we can use that can extend well beyond the drill hole itself and give you a better sense of
when you're down there,
where the gold might be.
Right. So you said earlier that the guys are going to go back and look at all that core that went into that sediments and have.
Don't get too excited yet. This is one drill hole, run really good value, but well, I guess like you, I'm hoping and when they look through those sediments, the core, they'll see something more.
Well, you know, 98 grams doesn't just sort of fall out of space there, and you would kind of think that where there's some of that, there should be some more.
I've always thought that way.
I don't want to pin you down to having everybody's expectations, but I think it's also important to that the possibility is there and it's not pie in the sky because you've seen it in a drill hole already.
No, no, that's right. No,
So, Rob, anything you gotta give us an insight on in your copper front?
we're moving into the camp. The Argentinian winter is all but over. There's still a little bit of snow there. We'll have, by the end of October, 15 drills on site. By the end of November, 19 drills. And that's moving towards producing a feasibility study in the first quarter of 2025. That's just getting, we'll have some exploratory holes to see if this ore body extends or there's satellites, as porphyry deposits often have satellites around them. And getting ready to have a camp we could go all year round at. So it's also looking at it. I mean, we keep planning and looking at how we can make a mine design a mine that could be a model for mines of the future, where it's much more sensitive to the environmental concerns today. A lot.
The people as well that are working for you.
Yes, and a very comfortable setting for them. We're at altitude. We're up around 10,000 feet, 11,000 feet. So you want to make it as comfortable as possible. I'd say, we're going to be using less than a quarter of the water of a comparable size conventional copper mine. We're going to be emitting far less carbon and plan to be net zero by 2038. All of the power coming to the site will be renewable. YPF, Argentinian power companies, they have a big 500 kilovolt line coming down, and we'll connect to that. They're into solar, wind, and hydro, so that's the source of the power. Most of our machinery we hope to have electric. Growing our own food, a lot of our own food up there, treating our own waste, and even having a hotel.
Truly is a mine of the future that you're talking about there, Rob. And what makes it quite exciting as well is that just the sheer size of it makes it a generational mine potential and something that the copper industry needs. What's sort of happening with the idea of bringing the McEwen Copper public? Are you moving ahead with that in any way, or?
We have been. Our initial plan was to do it in the first half of this year, but then in end of February, early March, we raised quite a bit of money through Rio and Stellantis, the number 2 car manufacturer, the number 2 mining company, number 4 car manufacturer came in as shareholders. Rio came in for the second time, Stellantis for the first. So that filled up our treasury, and that would take us into the beginning of the first quarter next year. And we thought, well, we could go public right now, but it's not really the market to get good value.
Right.
And we've been having discussions with a number of companies that are looking to do possibly another private financing. And that would just extend our runway but the plan is to go do an IPO.
Sometime in the future.
But, our first deal was at $10 a share. The second deal was at 19. If we do another deal, it's going to be at a higher price than the last one. As people are recognizing the scope and the size of this project. It's one of the largest undeveloped copper projects in the world.
And lowest quartile of costs.
Low cost, long life, large production, and producing what I might call green copper, because we'll be producing a cathode rather than a concentrate. The concentrate would have to go to a smelter, but we're going to be producing the metal that can be used right away. So you cut out a lot of the transportation and smelting carbon emissions that occur.
I'm like you, but Rob, and I tend to put things into the context of what would this look like if it was a gold mine. And the last time we talked, you kind of ran through those numbers, and it was kind of, whoa, are you serious? And maybe you could just briefly tell us about that comparison.
Happy to. I always look at projects and put them in a gold context, even when they're not gold. So in this copper one, if I just use the copper resources we have there, and you take the copper price today and divided it into the gold price, you get an exchange ratio. And it's around 500 pounds of copper equals the value of 1 ounce of gold. So if you divide it into our resource of 37.6 billion pounds of copper, and that's between the indicated and inferred, just totaling that up, you get over 70 million ounce gold equivalent. And the first 5-10 years, we're projected to produce 410 million pounds of copper a year. So using that same ratio, you're just around 800,000 ounces of gold equivalent a year. And the cost is $1.07. So multiply that by the 500, you're coming in under $600 an ounce, and your all-in sustaining cost is coming in at under $800 an ounce. The life is 27 years, and we're only mining a little more than a third of the deposit at that point. So as you said, it is multi-generational, it is low cost. If it was a gold mine, on an equivalent basis, it's projecting to be a large, long life, profitable.
Well, it would fall into the category that Barrick uses as a tier 1 and then some. I don't know what that would be called, a tier 1 or something, but they talk about 5 to 10 million ounces of gold that you can produce about 500,000 ounces. They don't quite talk about the cost as much, but I'm pretty aware of that. And $800 all in sustaining costs would make it one of the lowest cost gold producers in the business. So, as gold projects go, this would be a tier 1 plus type situation.
It would be, and I mean, you're looking at a capital cost of $2.5 billion that is projected to pay back in 3.2 years.
Wow. Well, not only do I like talking about it in a gold context, but I kind of, when I was thinking about this, I kind of ran the numbers through with my pencil work there, Rob. And I was thinking that if McEwen Copper was a standalone public company, and you compare it to the other projects out there, and that McEwen Mining owns 52% of it, my math kind of came to the conclusion that the valuation of McEwen Mining right now is probably only reflecting the copper, and the gold is pretty much trading at zero.
Yeah, you get the copper and the gold comes for free.
So you have upside potential on the copper, and plus you get the gold for free. And now you're getting some results here that are quite exciting for the mining operation and the exploration potential. So I think it's worth more than free.
Well, I share that thought.
Rob, you're always kind with your time, and I really appreciate that you come on and give us insights into the news and your insights into the market. Do you have anything you want to close on before I close things up?
It's a time right now with the price of gold and silver dropping, for people not to give up on the gold space. It's these moments present opportunities. You may not get the bottom, but you're getting close to it. I think there are a lot of exploration stories out there that are quite interesting, and they will be the feedstock for the growth of the intermediates and seniors. So take a look, pick the ones that you like, the higher, where there's some high grade showing up, over some good intercepts, and build yourself a portfolio, because I think you'll do well in the not too distant future.
I actually just recently did that process looking at my various companies, and it's shocking to me how cheap the valuation is on real projects. And it kind of reminds me of 2001 period where the baby was getting thrown out with the bathwater. And, you know, if you picked up some of those babies and fed them and give them a good home, they treated you well in 2001 to 2011.
Yeah, they stopped crying and started laughing.
Sounds good, Rob. Thanks a lot again. I'm just going to close things off.
All right.
Well, there you go, folks. McEwen Mining has a good combination of gold and copper, world-class copper. Rob put it into great context as to what that could be valued at if you were looking at it as a gold operation. I still believe that the company is being McEwen Mining is not appreciating fully the copper asset, and you're basically getting the gold production and the gold exploration potential for free. And from these recent results, I think it's a good argument that they're worth a lot more than free. As always, do your homework. I mean to be this show to be part of your homework. So Rob and I have done several interviews. You can find those on my YouTube channel, and that's a great place for you to start your homework. But then go to McEwen Mining's website. You'll see a lot of great news releases and a lot of good corporate presentations that help you understand the company. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.